Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Exploring Photography right here on Adorama TV. I'm Mark Wallace. Well, in this episode, we're going to dive into Adobe Premiere Pro CC, and I'm going to show you how you can do this, how you can add animated text and graphics in Premiere Pro really quickly and easily using the new Essential Graphics panel and the Effects panel. So we're going to create some text, add some layers of different graphics, animate everything, package it up, and then I'm going to show you how you can distribute that so you can use it in Creative Cloud libraries or in your Essential Graphics panel to be used across multiple different projects. Now this is perfect for anybody that has to create text quickly and then reuse that same style in multiple projects. Maybe you're an English video tutorial person on Adorama TV that needs to create a subscribe button. Subscribe, subscribe. Well, you could do that using, sorry Gavin, you could do that using this new technique. So we have a ton to cover, so let's jump in right now. I want to begin by showing you the end result, what we're going for. So I've created this little documentary, fake documentary of Frankfurt and its energy. And you can see that as we zip through here, you have text that's animating in different parts of this little timeline here. So I want to zoom in here and show you sort of what is happening. So I'll make this larger. As we step through this, you'll see that at the very first, there's a little blue bar, a little graphic here, a shape that fades in, and then this white bar animates across, and then text drops down. Okay, so that's what's happening. We've got this little animation that comes in and out like that, and then what we want to do is reuse that. So as we play through this, you'll see that this same graphic is used, same style, but now it's at the bottom of the screen. So it's the exact same thing. And then we're going to use it again, but this time we're just going to have it fade in and fade out on this next little screen here. So there it is, because you might get tired of that animation in your video over and over. And then the last shot, we have the same thing, but now the animation is being used again. So that's what we want to do. We want to create a text template that has animation that we can use over and over again. And so we're going to do this. This is called creating a motion graphics template. So it's got text and graphics and motion. It's really awesome. Now, just so you know, using After Effects and the same tools, you can create things that are really spectacular. So here's an example of an animation that was created using these same tools, but in After Effects. So this animates in, and then you can customize this as you want. In Premiere, you can change the text and the colors and all kinds of things. So if you're an advanced user, check that out in After Effects. We're going to just keep it simple today. And so what I've done is I've created this timeline. It just has some video clips on it that I showed you, and we're going to start adding our text. Now to do this, if you just need text on your video, the nice thing is now there's this type tool, and it works just like it does in Photoshop or Illustrator. You click on the little T, you click anywhere on your screen, and then you just type whatever you want. So I'm going to say Frankfurt, Germany. Frankfurt, Germany is a bustling city with significant energy needs. Something like that. There we go. That looks good. All right, now if we want to move that around on the screen, we just take our normal selection tool. We can move that. We can resize it with the little controls in the corner. You can rotate it if you want. You can do all of those normal things. But what we want to do is we want to start animating this. And so that's what we're going to do next. We're going to go over here. There's a new panel. It's called the Essential Graphics panel. You get there by clicking Window and then going down to Essential Graphics. Once you click that, you'll see this Essential Graphics panel will open up. And there's two sections to this. There's Browse and there is Edit. If you click on Edit, you can see that here is our text. And now we can change things like the color of our text, the fill color. So we can make that black instead of white. You can add a stroke. You can change the shadow. You can do whatever you want. So it's where all of the styling comes in, your opacity, your angles. You can change fonts. All of that stuff is right there. The other thing you'll notice, though, is that there's this little tab right here, this little new layer button. And that means that inside of this graphics element, that's what's on our timeline here, this little bar here represents not a video clip, but a graphic element. You can add several layers and then control all of those as one unit. Think of it like a group of objects. So what we can do here is we can start adding things. Now I need to see this a little bit better, so I can move this around and do some things. But what I want to do really is I want to work with two things: the Essential Graphics panel and then my effects controls. Because this is where I add, in my Essential Graphics panel, this is where I add different graphics. In the effects control, that's where I animate those. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag this panel over next to my Essential Graphics. So I have those side by side. And then I can resize all of this stuff and make it look really good. So what I've done is I've done this already and created my own custom workspace called Essential Graphics. So I'm going to go over there right now. And you see here's my Essential Graphics panel and my Effects Controls panel, and then just some basic panels over here on the left. Now that you know how to get there, you can create your own custom workspace. I highly recommend that you do that. We're going to start playing with this stuff. So we have our text. It looks okay, but what we want to do is now we want to add some graphics. So I'm going to go in here and create a new layer, and I can add a rectangle or ellipse, or from File. We're going to create a simple rectangle. So this starts with a white rectangle, and I'm going to make this a little bit skinnier and much longer. And what we're going to get here is a bar, like I showed you at the very first. Then we're going to bring this up to the top, something like that, and that looks okay. We're not going to spend a lot of time making this perfect, but you get the idea. There are align and transform tools right here, so you can center everything and make sure everything looks good on the screen, so you can play with these as you will. The next thing I want to do is add one more graphic element. So I am going to click on this new button right here, and I'm going to say from File, and I'm going to add a PNG graphic of the Adorama logo. So when I import that, now I've got the Adorama logo. It's got some transparency. I will shrink that, maybe a little bit more, and now I'm just going to move it around, stick it up over here on the right hand side of this bar, and then we'll get it close enough. Okay. Again, we're not going to spend a lot of time making this perfect because it would take us just too long. So I've got a basic graphic here that I want to start animating. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at each one of these layers. I'm going to rename this shape layer to white bar. So you might want to have several different elements here, and they might all say shape, shape, shape. You want to change those to things that are more intelligent, so when you start animating, you know what the heck you're animating. So now that we have all of our stuff in our Essential Graphics panel, if we go to our Effects Control panel, notice that those all show up. So I'm going to collapse these so you can see this a little bit better. So we have motion, that's for the entire layer, that's the entire group. Then we have individual animations, so we can animate the text by itself. We can animate that shape, that white bar, by itself. We can animate our Adorama logo by itself. And so we can animate each of the elements inside of the group, which is really awesome. So we're going to do that right now. The first thing I want to do is start setting some keyframes. Keyframes are just start and end points for things to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in a little bit on my timeline over here, and then I'm going to start animating things. So I'm going to animate the text. We're going to animate the position of that. So I'll click the little clock here. I'm going to animate the bar, the position of that. So we're going to go in here and click on position. And then on the Adorama logo, we're going to animate the position and the rotation and the opacity. Okay, so I went in a little bit because this is where we want our animation to end, with everything looking like this. So I'm going to go to the beginning, and now we're going to start with the start points. So the first thing I want to do is animate our shape. So we're going to go here to position, add another keyframe, and then what we're going to do is we're going to move not up, but out. So I'm going to make this start off screen. So we're going to make it go all the way off screen. And so now you'll see as we play this, it animates in and out. So that looks pretty good. So that's where I want it to start. That's pretty much all we need to do with that. So our white bar is animated. We want to start animating our little logo. First we need to set our keyframes, so I'll set keyframes for each of these starting positions. So I want to have this rotate one full rotation, so it's going to roll in 360 degrees. I want it to start with about a 50% opacity, so I don't want it to be totally visible. and then I want it to come in on the other side of the screen, so over here. So now you'll see those two things are animated. All right, not fancy, but it's an animation. Now the last thing we need to do is make this text animate in. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the text, and then we're going to go down to our transform, our position. We're going to click on another keyframe so we know where to start. And then we're going to have that coming in from just right above the bar. So it's going to come down. The problem is it needs to be transparent. And so the way to make that transparent, I'm going to make this come down just a little bit more, is to add a mask. And so the mask, to see what's happening, I'll go to my, just this little point right here. A mask shows anything inside the mask shows up. Anything outside the mask is transparent. So if I just reshape this mask so that it is below the bar, I'll make sure that it shows everything below the bar. There we go. Now look at that. Zoom. Now it looks like the text just appears from nowhere. All right, the last thing we need to do is we need to have that bar come in all the way before our text animates in. So we can just do that by changing our keyframes. So do that. Maybe make that a little bit faster transition, like that. Okay, there we go. We have a very basic animation. It's not fantastic, but it's something. It's something that we can use. And now what we're going to do here is we want to use this over and over again. So the way to do this, it's really simple. If you're just going to use something once or twice on one project, all you need to do is create your animation, your text, your style, whatever it is. Then on the timeline, you can Option or Alt click, click on your graphic element, and then drag it. And it's going to create a second copy. And then on that second copy, if you want to change anything, well, just click on there, and you can just type right on the screen like we did before. This is the second copy. How cool. Okay, so now we have that. We can do things like if we wanted to take this and move the entire thing down, we can click on the motion for that entire graphic element. Then we can take our position, always choose the wrong one, and just move it down. So now it's going to work down there. Okay, so we've got these two elements. They're the exact same thing. We can start using them. We can start adding effects. We can do all kinds of things to this if we had a little bit more time. You get the idea. But how do we save this to be used over and over again for all projects and maybe even used for teams? Well, the thing is you want to do is you want to click on the graphic element that you want to use as your template. So it's this one that we started with. Frankfurt, Germany is a bustling city. So that one, it's going to save the font, the text, the graphic elements, the little logo, and all the animations as one package. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to Essential Graphics, back to Browse. You don't have to do that, but this is going to help you understand where this is going. We go up here to Graphics at the top of the screen, and we're going to export this as a motion graphics template. And that is going to save all the work that we just did. So if I click that, it's going to ask the name. So we're going to call this Adorama blue logo animated. And then I'm going to save that in my Essential Graphics folder, this right here. I could instead save it to a local folder on my hard drive to be imported later from different projects, or I could also save this in one of my Creative Cloud libraries, which is really powerful if you're working in a team or multiple laptops or computers and you just want to pull these out of your Creative Cloud libraries. You can do that. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to save it in the Essential Graphics, this default folder. I'll say OK, and you'll see that shows up here as Adorama blue logo animated. Well, I don't want it just to be here. I want to store it in this Adorama demo folder that I created. So to do that, you have to right click and say move, and then you have to tell it where to go. So unfortunately, you can't just drag things into folders. I'm not sure. But now when I go in there, you can see that I have my animated blue logo and then my blue and white text that I showed you earlier. If I want to use either one of those, so if I want to use this one that I showed earlier, is drag it from here onto the timeline. There it is. If I want to use the other one, I can just drag that onto the timeline. And there it is. There's my animated cool thing. And I can use that over and over. If you don't like it, you want to change anything, let's go over here. Change that white bar to a red bar. Okay. Oops, sorry, gotta click on the actual element. You change that white bar to a red bar. Yes, there you go. Okay, yeah, you gotta make sure you click on the actual element on the timeline or it won't work. So you can see that this is really powerful because you can create graphics that are used over and over, totally customizable. You can move them around, you can animate them, and then you can share them, which I really, really love. Hey, thanks for joining me for this episode of Exploring Photography. Don't forget to subscribe to Adorama TV. It's absolutely free. Also, check out the Adorama Learning Center because we have a lot of resources. It's absolutely free. And don't forget, I write an article every other week, so check those out. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you again next time.